What's up? Are you coming or not? We are ready to go. This is going to be amazing. You need to make sure you are in the room at the Owning It and Living It experience November 1st through 3rd in Atlanta, Georgia. Don't worry about next year. Come this year. This year, I am giving away a fully renovated house, and I'm telling you right now that I'm not giving away one next year. Not only will you learn from me, you'll learn from so many amazing people in the industry. Henry Washington, Kendra Barnes, Jackie and Preston Perry, Lecrae Moore, Felipe, Ingrid, Sarah. You gotta be in the room though. This is the perfect conference to merge Black and brown culture with real estate knowledge. We are going to be dancing to Joanna and learning all about real estate. You're gonna actually learn some specific strategies that's gonna help you scale to the next level. Go ahead, go to the link below and grab your ticket today. We don't realize how much these environments that we are in actually affects how we end up showing up and seeing ourselves. A person's wealth is determined by their assets, investments, and things that they own. I say true wealth is about how you live it. Your girl is back. Welcome to season 2 of Wealth Within Reach. Welcome back to another episode of Wealth Within Reach. This episode is for you if you struggle with doubting yourself, having confidence in yourself, and showing up as your full self in every room that you walk into. All right, let's jump into it. So today you see the confident, transformed, growth-minded, abundance thinker, Erica in front of you. But let me tell you, I have not always been this way. I have not always been this confident when I walk into the room. Today, I believe that truly, because God is with me in whatever room I walk into, that I can be 100% apologetic in myself. But I didn't used to feel that way. I grew up, I used to struggle with stuttering. I had a speech impediment really bad. I remember because I didn't, speak, proper English all the time, right? Now I embrace how country I am. Now it is embraced of just be yourself, be organic, but that hasn't always been the case, okay? And so I have really had to learn over time, especially because I had to be what I didn't see. A lot of times I've been the first of lots of positions that I've held. I was the first Black banker in the town when I first started banking at the bank I previously was at. When I moved to Atlanta and I ended up, starting out as a banker and getting promoted, and I ended up becoming the branch manager at my branch, I was the first female manager, and I was the youngest female manager, and I was the first Black female manager. And so I've had to occupy in these spaces oftentimes, being the first and not really having a blueprint laid out before me. So sometimes it could feel, very scary, very fearful. You can wonder, what other people are thinking, what they're saying when you're stepping into these spaces. And I'm sharing this with you because I know that some of you are operating in the same space. I know some of you are, the ones in your family that say, oh, they got it, they made it, right? Some of you are responsible for taking care of your loved ones. Some of you are the people that if something happens in your family, they're coming to you to, ask to borrow money or to ask to help out financially. I understand what that is like, but I know that some of you are also doubting who you are. Some of you are in contexts where you unconsciously are shrinking and holding back parts of yourself because you don't feel safe to share. I know some of you feel like you can't speak up and ask for help because if you speak up and ask for help, it's going to be looked down upon and it's going to be looked at as you don't know what you're doing. I recognize that. And so here's the thing. God has strategically put me in a place to experience what you've experienced, but also to now create a different kind of space where I don't have to occupy in that way, right? Where I can decide, who I give my time to day by day. I can decide what rooms I walk into and say yes and no to. But guess what? I know that the majority of the world does not function like that. Are you tired of wasting so much time pulling data, reviewing comps, and trying to put together the financing to do your next deal? Guess what? You don't have to do all that. Backflip helps you to analyze properties instantly, helps you to pull high quality comps. You can actually apply for loans directly through the app while also choosing your best investment strategy. All you have to do is download the free Backflip app now and go on your way to make smarter, faster, and more profitable decisions today. A part of the calling that God has given me is to create these special safe spaces for Black and brown people who are what I call generational change makers. We're doing something different. We are not subscribing to the status quo. We are not just going along with what our generation did before us. We may struggle with figuring out how to do that. And so if that connects with you and you are a generational change maker, God has personally put on my heart to create these safe spaces so that you can actually come and be served for a change, right? Where you can just come and you can show up and you don't have to worry about taking care of everything, planning everything. Is there going to be food there? Who all is going to be over there? I'm committed to creating those spaces for Black and brown people to help them to just come, relax, feel seen, don't have to explain, don't have to be underestimated. Just come based on just who you are. And I create those spaces, whether it's, my treats that I offer or my mastermind program or even my conference, where everything is strategically thought of. I remember I joined this mastermind and I attended this retreat. I had the best time, right? Because whenever I went to the bathroom and sat down or whatever, there was this sign that said, "Sis, you got it," like right in front of me. Like, how did they know that I was going to need that encouragement? How did they know to say sis instead of sister? Okay. Those little things help me to feel seen. Right. And then I loved how, the chef that they chose was, a Black chef, just all these little things that really help you to feel seen. I remember 2019 was the first time I went to Paris, and I love Paris and I had a great time. Of course, it's one of the most romantic places in the world. But back then when I went, one of the biggest things that stood out to me was that I didn't see any Black and brown people in the advertisements. I didn't see myself there. Because I didn't see myself there, I automatically thought, okay, well, this must not be for me. Oftentimes we exist in spaces where we don't see ourselves in it. We don't see ourselves in leadership positions. We don't see ourselves the ownership positions. Because we don't see ourselves there, it's hard to even determine if we have a place. This is why it was so important to me when I decided to host the Owning and Living experience, not to just have one or two Black speakers, but to have over 15 to 20 Black and brown speakers, so that you realize, one, we're not all the same. We don't all have the same stories. And you're able to learn from people who look like you. Learn from people who may be first generation immigrants that parents immigrated here that's trying to figure out, and you may connect with that. Learn from someone who may have grown up in the projects and they're trying to do something different. Learn from someone who didn't grow up in the projects, who, family did a really good job and they went to HBCU and they're trying to figure out how to grow their wealth. This is why it's important to create those safe spaces. Moving to Atlanta, I personally feel like was one of the best decisions that I personally have made. Coming from Dallas, Texas, people always ask me, like, do you want to go back home? Do you love Dallas? And although Texas is great, I have so enjoyed raising my kids here. My kids don't know that it's not common to be a business owner. They don't know that it's not common to be a scientist, because they know that, Miss Ivana is a scientist. They know that Mr. Quincy owns the Chick-fil-A. They know Mr. Paul runs the gym, right? That's normalized for them. And being a part of a community, joining a community like Owning It and Living It, attending an experience like the Owning and Living It experience helps to expose you to a whole room full of people that will naturally help you to then influence your belief to see that you can do it too. I just wanted to share my heart behind creating these safe spaces, to show the need to create these safe spaces. We don't realize how much these environments that we are in actually affects how we end up showing up and seeing ourselves. I want you to show up in every room knowing that God is with you so that you can be your full self. I want you to show up and that you are confident to not shrink, to not doubt yourself, to realize that God has given you a dream, that God has given you a purpose to bring into the world, and that you matter. All right. And so I just feel like you never know. You may be able to truly find that at the Owning and Living It experience. And I really want you to consider coming. I don't want you to worry about maybe next year. I don't want you to think about, oh, can I really find the money? Figure it out. You can get there. Okay. You can figure it out. We prioritize what is important to us. Instead of thinking about what you can't do, I want to encourage you to reframe it, to talk about what can you do? What can you do to get to the Owning and Living experience? Because I promise when you leave, you're not going to be the same person. It's going to be the ultimate reset and reboot. And you never know, you might find some lifelong friends there too. I'll be there. And I hope to see you there too. Thanks so much for listening to another episode of Wealth Within Reach, and I will see you next time. Hey friend, have you been enjoying this podcast and you're like, okay, Erica, how can I connect with you and other of your amazing guests that are on the podcast? You can do that within the Owning It and Living It Facebook group. I have the Owning and Living It Facebook group to help to foster community with other like-minded real estate investors. Folks are sharing advice, I'm sharing tips, and we're fostering community so we can help take our real estate investments to the next level. If you are ready to do that, I want you to join the Owning It and Living It Facebook group. You can go to the link in the bio to join today.